Yes, welcome to day 11. It's October 24th. And anybody watching on YouTube knows I'm wearing exactly the same shirt as part one. Welcome to part two of how ending Social Security will kick everyone's ass. Look, I just called it like I see it, but it's so true. In part one, I explained how Social Security works and who's relying on it for survival and how this is going to hit families like ours, like yours and like mine. So that's in part one. If you haven't heard it yet, maybe go pick it up and listen because it'll set the stage for what we're going to get into today. Yesterday was kind of the micro look at Social Security and how it affects you and your family. Today is a bit of a macro look, how this is going to affect us as a country. And I want to just take you through it and let it settle with you. This is high level. You need to almost meditate on each one of these to think, I was going to do this. And I go, Jen, this is no longer a podcast. You're now producing a documentary. So I can't, I didn't go into any more depth than what I have here. But I will tell you that each of these, and you can choose your favorite, and they're always in the blog if you want to come back to the list. But each of these is worth a meditation and a consideration because it's a big deal. So I'll babble a tiny bit about each one to kind of get you thinking. But maybe here's a fun exercise, and I think I've mentioned this before. Science shows, I'll just pull that out of my ass, right? Science shows that if you think about something 7 times in a row, each thought different, the 7th thought will be something you've never thought of. So it's fun. You can use this as a drinking or a stoner game if you'd like. You can also stand up in the middle of the room, spin yourself around a bat 3 times, and then get up and try to answer these questions. However you would like to distort your reality or not. But that's 7 thoughts. If you want to give each one 7 thoughts, let me know what you come up with. That's a good way to kind of push yourself to really think through a topic. You can use it for anything. All right. So it's worse than how hard, if Social Security goes away in 23, it's worse than how hard it would hit the families. That was in part one. It turns out the money funding Social Security is a lot like a giant piece in a Jenga game. So you guys know Jenga, right? It's like one of the loudest, most fun games there is. And my across the street neighbors who are theater people and nerds and Silicon Valley people, but they love theater. They do Shakespeare Santa Cruz every year. They have the largest Jenga game. It's way bigger than the one that I'm showing on screen. It's probably 7 feet tall. And after when Shakespeare Santa Cruz, and nobody knows this, I'm spilling some tea. When Shakespeare Santa Cruz is dark, which is Monday nights, they come over to my neighbor's house and they party, which is awesome. I always have the door open because it's always happiness because it's theater people. There's always singing, but there's also always Jenga. And I can hear the whole game from their backyard into my house because they live across the street. But it's so fun to listen to them play this Jenga game. Well, it immediately occurred to me that when I started doing this research on Social Security, it's a lot like Jenga. Because if you pull out Social Security from how our economy is structured, it's just going to topple. I'm going to tell you how much money we spend for Social Security and how efficiently we do it. It is remarkably efficient. It is only 1% of the money that we use. Okay, sorry, let me just do this clearly. It turns out in 2024, so this year, our Social Security Administration will pay in benefits, not administration, just straight cash sent to humans, $1.5 trillion. Okay, sit with that for a second. That's $1.5 trillion going out into the economy. That's bazinga. That's like so good. That's amazing. We want that kind of money in the economy. That's $1.5 trillion, guys. Okay, that goes to the retirees, the disabled individuals, and survivors. All right. But to manage that operation, so 1.5 trillion going out in payments to manage it, they do it at 1% of the amount of money that they spend on benefits. I don't even know. Name me a nonprofit that's running at a 1% level of administration to donation to paying for the services. I think GoFundMe is looking for more than 1%. I think they asked for 3%. When you do a vote GoFundMe, and they're like, please tip us our operational costs of 3%. Yeah, 1% is how much we pay on the 1.5 trillion, which is 15 billion, a little under, it's 14 billion, close to 14 billion. So there you go. That's what kind of money is being spent. Super efficient. So if anybody tries to tell you Social Security is a big gobsmacking suck fund that just has bureaucracy upon, no, not true, not true, not true, not true, not true. It actually, this guy's fired. This Social Security Administration is fired for being able to administer the program that efficiently. All right, so we can just set that one aside. But here's the deal. If we lose Social Security, we're going to lose local economic stability. So communities, it turns out, let me give you the payoff. It turns out seniors are our highest local shoppers. You know this if you've ever tried to leave your home at noon on a weekday. That is when seniors get in the car. I don't know why. I don't know if their program goes off. I don't know if their program's going to come on. But if you try to cross town at noon, you know seniors are out shopping locally. This is fantastic for our local economies. They are stable shoppers that provide a revenue stream that stores can predict. But if this goes away, we will decline in our spending, and it could lead to business closures, job losses, and further destabilize communities. And, you know, we saw our communities destabilized after the pandemic. It was not pleasant. I haven't spent a lot of time downtown Santa Cruz, mostly because of me stuff, but that it's changed. It's so different. And it kind of is shocking. Sound like an old person. It's really shocking. All right. So first thing we know is if you take the money away from the geezers, the businesses that depend on the geezers are going to suffer. Veteran homelessness will surge because the vets rely on Social Security disability income, SSDI. It's good stuff. It helps people who cannot make a living wage. It is supplemental. It's usually supplemental. And veterans in particular rely heavily on this to stay housed. So this is likely to put veterans on the street, and this is not who we want to have on the street. I'm already sick enough that there's enough veterans on the street, and I know some of those guys have mental issues, and I know Ronald Reagan set us up for that in California. It makes me sick, especially for veterans, because I understand PTSD as a person who has dealt with it, and we need to get them help. But most importantly, if we take Social Security away, it's going to hit veterans hard. So you need to know that. It's a theory, but it's after doing this myself and taking care of seniors, there's a good chance elder abuse will increase. It's going to increase for a few reasons. First of all, the financial dependence shift, right? Here, all of a sudden, seniors are going to be financially dependent on others to survive. You've taken away $1,900 a month, plus or minus, and they're going to have to figure out how to do that difference. There's not a way for a senior to make up that difference. So seniors may be forced to rely on a potentially abusive family members or others to cover basic needs. It's generally just going to make them more vulnerable, because you know what makes you less vulnerable? Money. It's true and sad, but in America, one thing that makes you less vulnerable is money. So we need to, by just stripping them of their income, of course, elder abuse will increase. And this may be out of your hands, who you care about and how you can help them. When my grandmother, my most special person on earth, she entered a nursing home at 101. Yeah, 101. And luckily she was so compromised at that point, and she was still okay. She was still lucid enough to talk to me. I was pregnant at the time, but it was painful for us. It was so hard. And we knew the care we couldn't afford better care. It was the best we could do. It was awful. I'm just saying this is not a pleasant scenario. Any of this elder abuse stuff is awful. Rural economies are going to collapse. So you may not know, I certainly didn't know until I went and read about this. In rural communities, where jobs are scarce, things are touch and go. And one of the ways people have gotten through is through Social Security benefits. And so if we cut that, where Social Security slides in and is a supplement, it won't be there anymore. And we could see rural communities just disappear or collapse. And that would be really bad. Disabled individuals will lose dignity and independence because they have no money. Without SSDI, disabled individuals would face severe financial insecurity, right? Because they don't have their money, and they probably will be less able to afford basic health care, housing, and other essentials. And if the chance for them to live on their own might be in jeopardy, which is so key. All of us need to feel agency. All need to feel like we make a difference. And being able to just power your own body and live for yourself is one really important way. So disabled individuals are going to be at real risk. Economic gaps for minorities and women will widen because pay disparity. So Social Security is a way to reduce financial disparity for women and minorities who have lower lifetime earnings and limited pension access. If you think about it, the way Social Security works is what you earn as a benefit. You slow down. You get on the Social Security check itself is based on what you earned in your lifetime. So if you earned a lot, you'll get more. And if you earned a little, you get less. Well, guess who automatically earns less and littles? That's right, people of color and women. We already do. So even as we enter Social Security, what is a disadvantage, and it would become worse if they take that money away. I need to sneeze, but I'm holding it back. More seniors, access to healthcare will shrink. This is so important. So here's the deal. Social Security allows seniors to pay for their visits, the copay, and they pay their medical copay, their prescription copays and the kind of thing. Social Security is providing that income. We don't have that income for them. A bunch of people are going to become indigent and show up for healthcare in crisis. And the thing that we know is hard on our healthcare system, I'm trying to think how to say it, is crisis. I'm not talking about an ER, like a car accident or something. That's like a crisis. I'm talking about the kind of crisis that comes from not enough money, not enough caregivers, and not enough help earlier in illness. So if people don't go to the doctor because they can't afford it, they get much more sick. And then they show up as a disaster instead of if we could have just got them the pneumonia. Say pneumonia with the Invisalign, with the pneumonia shot. Boy, that was funny where my mouth was trying to go. If we can't give them that pneumonia shot, then they show up at the ER with pneumonia. Do you know which one's more expensive? That's right, the ER visit with pneumonia. Not to mention also lethal, contagious, so many other things. We want to get them that shot. If we take away Social Security, they don't have the same kind of access. And I'm going to add a caveat to this as well. As we put stress on our healthcare workers for having to take care of people who are now in crisis, our access, regular healthy people's access to healthcare will go down because it's going to become mercenary out there to just even get access to a doctor. And I'll tell you, it's going to come down to money. And then we're just going to have the rich buying doctors and the poor, I guess, in the streets. I'm not sure how it'll work out, but it doesn't bode well if we're not thinking about making sure everybody can at least afford an office visit, their medications, those sorts of things. More seniors are going to be forced into nursing homes. And that really stresses me out because nursing homes are a way to warehouse people when we can't take care of them. And I don't mean that that's not an absolute. That's not an absolute. A lot of us have to use nursing homes because it's bigger than us. That's true. And we care about our people and we're in there with them and we're advocates for them. And that's the normal use. But imagine a dystopian future where our elders don't have any money. They're very sick. And where are they going to go? They're going to start to get warehoused. And once I use the word warehouse, you know what happens to the quality of care. So this is an important thing for all of our seniors. I just don't think we're going to do well if we have a bunch of homeless, poor, sick seniors in this country. It's not be good for us. Money management will be hard. This means when I say money management, I should have probably even put making the budget. If you're in what happens in your 40s and 50s, roughly, if you haven't gotten there yet, and if you've gotten there, you start to look and go, wow, what am I going to do when I'm retired? How am I paying for college if you've got to pay for that? Or how am I going to help my kid get their own first apartment or home or car? 30s and 40s, kind of this big adult time to figure out big adult things. And if you add the complexity of having to take care of your parents financially to this, it's going to change your whole 30s and 40s. It's going to make 40s and 50s, make you feel really freaked out. So we want it with fewer resources, with less money, you're going to have to plan differently. So it will be hard. And that's the whole point of this bullet. Money management will get a lot tougher when people you never thought about supporting before suddenly are who you have to support. And then this last one's really interesting because the generational wealth. So generational wealth is, what I passed down, my parents passed down to me, passed down to their children. It's that whole idea of what we kind of our legacy. The thing I'd like women to think about more is their legacy. What is your legacy? One of them is your financial legacy and what you've planned out. The problem is you can't build generational wealth. Buy a house. That's a way to build generational wealth. Buying a house, buying some stocks, investing in something stocks would be good. Investing in something that has long-term gain. Those kind of things will diminish because you're not going to have the money to do it. And so it will slow down generational wealth. There's also a chance you might have to sell your parents' home, which you should have been able to inherit, but now you have to sell it because you need the money to pay for them to live. It could mean you have to sell your home, and you bought your home in California a long time ago before property taxes were ridiculous, and a new house is going to cost you 5 times the amount in property tax. So that's just an example. There's so many ways this could thwart, as a great word, thwart your plans. If suddenly you wake up in 2030 and you're responsible for people that you didn't think you'd be responsible for because you're a decent human being. If you're a jerk, you're going to go fill a nursing home. But if you're a decent human being, yeah, you're going to look at this responsibility. It really could affect generational wealth. So that's what makes me sad. So here's the deal, guys. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, this is a nonpartisan committee, they've gone through and they've looked at what Trump's plan, and Trump's plan is the Project 2025. I don't care what anybody says. He doesn't have his own plans. He has to use their plan, because if you're going to write a plan, to Tim Wall says, if you write a plan, you're going to use it. And he has to use it because he has no plans. He doesn't even have a concept of a plan. But looking at his words from yesterday, he's down to using like single syllable words. He's just down to a small lexicon. His lexicon is so small now. This man is not capable of a plan. But believe me, Heritage Foundation has this for you. Here's the deal. Yahoo Finance is confirming that former President Donald Trump has been inconsistent with his messaging on Social Security. So if you're confused, that's the first reason why. He's trying to dodge Project 2025. But during a March interview with CNBC, Trump said that cutting Social Security could keep the program solvent for just seniors. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because the majority of the people using Social Security are seniors. And frankly, what are you doing for the kids of dead people, and what are you doing for the disabled? Because cutting them out sounds crazy. You could maybe cut out the kids, but in our case, we didn't have anything to live on. My mom was waiting for, alimony and child support were everything in those days. So if you don't help kids whose parents just died and there's no living wage coming in, you've got a lot of problems. So Trump said first, he cut it, but keep it for retirement age folks. Well, I'm just going to tell you that doesn't make sense. That's the bulk of the program. So why would you cut it? You're just going to cut handicap people and survivors. Then he goes on, though. This is why it's so confusing. First of all, there's a lot you can do in terms of entitlements, in terms of cutting. Now, there's not. This Social Security is not an entitlement. Social Security is a program that was put in place, that is part of being an American, that we all pay for. Entitlements is a way to sound out something like, you think you deserve it, and I'm like, hell no, I paid into it. I do more than deserve it. Okay, so he says there's a lot you can do in terms of cutting, and in terms of also, this is Trump talking to CNBC, in terms of also the theft and the bad management of entitlements, tremendous bad management of entitlements. There's tremendous amount of things and numbers of things you can do. Okay, so no blah, 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 gobbledygook words, right? But he's now done 2 things. He said he'd keep it for just the seniors, which is basically the whole program. And number 2, there's tons of mistakes. There's theft and all this stuff. There might be some theft, but you know what? Right now, they're still running at 1%. So I don't think theft is the big problem. We have theft. That's bad people. We can deal with bad people. Criminals are everywhere. Stop with the nonsense that we changed something and theft disappeared. That's some kind of factitious. I'm sorry. That's some kind of fallacious logic there. There's no way crap. There's not always going to be a criminal element associated with everything, but Social Security is not broken and was not being, what did he say? Tremendous, the theft and the bad management of entitlements, tremendous bad, there's no bad management. There's just nothing to support that right now, other than potentially one-offs. So this committee for the responsible federal budget has found that his proposals to eliminate taxation on Social Security benefits, that's one, and taxes on tips and overtime, tips, by the way, which includes hedge fund people, and impose tariffs and expand deportations would all widen all those things he wants to do, right? Eliminate taxing Social Security. This is all the ways he's removing tax revenue that would support Social Security. He's not going to charge taxes on Social Security benefits. He's not going to tax you on tips. He's going to get rid of overtime, which if you work overtime, you pay more in taxes, right? If you're working for double time, you pay more in taxes. It's a good thing. We like overtime. You pay more in taxes. And then imposing tariffs, which is just another tax on things we buy from other countries. You can choose not to buy it from the other country and save your money on the tariff, but good luck figuring that out. And expanded deportations, all those things he's already blathering about will absolutely cause Social Security to crash faster. And here's what they found. The increase, this nonsense, the Trump economic claim, for lack of a better term, because it really isn't one, it's 2025's decimation of America, how to dismantle America in 900 pages, shows that President Trump's agenda would increase Social Security's shortfall. So it would bring in less money by $2.3 trillion. That's 2 whole years worth of spending on Social Security. 1.5 years. He would just get rid of because of all his nonsense, tariffs and all that crap. It's going to get rid of, already we're going to lose $2.3 trillion in Social Security. Then that means it will become insolvent much sooner. So it was supposed to be insolvent in 2034, and that's what we're all working on to make sure it doesn't become insolvent, because I'm still going to be alive and I want mine. But more importantly, it moves it down to this 2030. They've said 2030, and this it's fiscal 2031, so it's by 2030, because fiscal will start in January. That's right. Okay, so it's making it go underwater faster. It's going to lead to a 33% across the board benefit in 2035. I should have looked, but if it's, what did we say? He said 33%. So if they're getting $1,900 right now divided by a third, that's roughly $600. That $1,900 would go down to about $1,300. Holy smokes. That's a big hit. That's a big hit. This isn't normalized to the cost of living, but that's a lot. And then the shortfall will go from what was projected. Let me see. I got it. It will be roughly, they'll be short 50% by FY by 2035. There'll be 50% less revenue. We'll have a shortfall of 50%. And we would need about 1/2 of the current law to restore 75-year solvency. So I'm not going to even talk about solvency because it gives me a headache. I'm going to have to be able to do tables and math. And I'm not going to do tables and math, but the article's linked to it here. So if you're a tables and math person, go in and take a look at this. The point is, his plan is undermining Social Security. So every time he talks about he's not getting rid of Social Security, he is. But more importantly, if they do, we're going to be in big trouble. This Jenga piece cannot go missing. The economy will tumble, and we're going to have severe consequences. Mind you, at the same time, this is the same man who's talking about deporting millions of immigrants, whether they have standing or not. And those people do a ton of the jobs. So that's both the money that won't be going to the people who work here and pay Social Security. That's right. Immigrants who work and pay Social Security, because they do, it goes on their paycheck. If they have any kind of documentation, they're paying it. So pretty rude to kick them out. They're paying our taxes. But that's a different conversation as well. This is the poop. This is what you need to know about Social Security. You need to understand the consequences. They're big. It's a big, big deal. So don't just gloss over it. Take a closer look. Think about it 7 times. Think about what it is that would really happen when you start playing out some of these scenarios. And thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I will be back. Please like, share, and follow.